Elder Patriot. When you strip the politics away, Sarah Huckabee-Sanders is the essence of what first-wave feminists told us they were fighting for. Sarah breaks the mold that says only runway model types can be successful in this man's world. More importantly, she is fiercely independent and refuses to go along to get along. This is precisely what those feminist Marxists marching in lockstep demanded those many years ago. Now they find her independence threatening to them. Like Clarence Thomas once did for young blacks, Sanders stands a role model for today's young women who embrace the conservative agenda. For Democrats, who can no longer win elections by continuing to support failed policies, all that remains for them to campaign on is the defamation of those candidates and politicians who stand in the way, either turning the United States into another struggling socialist economy. We have witnessed an unrelenting diatribe of such attacks against President Trump from the globalist-controlled mainstream media since he won the Republican nomination. Press Secretary Sarah Sanders has also been the victim of venial and petty attacks about everything from her makeup to heap pie baking, and, like President Trump, she has been unwavering in her defense of both herself and the president she represents. The latest example came at the end of this past week when President Trump responded to Democratic Senator Kirsten Gillibrand's demand that he step aside because of allegations of impropriety. Trump knew Gillibrand as his senator when he was building the NY skyline, and he simply tweeted in what low regard he held her after those years of dealing with her. In response to her public comments, Trump had watched Gillibrand's rise to U.S. Senator and knew that without the Clintons she'd still be a low-level wannabe Pole. Her recent decision to throw the Clintons overboard was an act of disloyalty and political opportunism, both traits that Trump detests. Trump's opponents have settled on using allegations of impropriety, UAL and otherwise, as the basis for demanding he step down from public office. Make no mistake about it, no matter how many friends they throw overboard, their sights are set on Donald Trump and Donald Trump alone. With this, due process and innocent until proven guilty no longer apply in his case. Their new normal, if we accept it, now means that any time a Democrat female is called out for accepting money in exchange for a favor, their accuser is AIST who must be destroyed. No trial necessary, just a public lynching by the mainstream media. Instead of acknowledging that Gillibrand had no accomplishments to bolster her resume since joining the Senate, that her disloyalty to the Clintons was indeed noteworthy, and that she was nothing more than a guaranteed vote that Chuck Schumer could count on to block the president's reform agenda, one reporter decided to interpret the president's tweet and claimed it contained all innuendo about his relationship with Gillibrand. The reporter pressed Press Secretary Sanders to reveal what President Trump got from donating to Gillibrand's campaign chest. If he wasn't talking about, that's when Sanders opened fire with both barrels, telling the MSM accusers that only if their mind was in the gutter would they have read it that way, and fired back that the president's history of statements made it clear longtime establishment politicians grant access and carry your water in exchange for money. Sanders wasn't done and addressed the broader problem that all the money coming to politicians has caused. That's the reason that we have a broken system. That's the reason that often special interests control our government more than the people do. That's one of the reasons that this president ran to be president. It's one of the top reasons that he won and that he's sitting in the Oval Office today. And Hillary Clinton is not because he couldn't be bought, and everybody knew that she could because they have seen it time and time again. The reporter kept pressing Sanders, asking if that meant Trump had bought access in a corrupt way. Huckabee-Sanders was rolling now, and she was not going to let this reporter continue twisting the facts. Sanders unloaded on her. He says he knows how the system works. I think it would be disingenuous for anybody not to understand that, but at least this president is being honest about the process and his willingness to actually fix it and drain the swamp. President Trump is lucky to have Sarah Huckabee-Sanders as his press secretary, and so are the millions of little girls who have her as a role model.